You're tuned in to Shop Talk, presented by RaceOnTexas.com. Here's your host, Caleb McFarland.
Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. Here we are, episode 8 of Shop Talk. I am your host, Caleb McFarland. We unfortunately had to take a little bit of a pause in our podcast programming due to things that we really don't experience much down here in Texas, and that's ice-cold temperatures. And a man that got to deal with those ice-cold temperatures a little bit further north of where I'm located, the old wheel man, Mr. Kevin Rogers, is going to join us this week. Kevin, it's great to have you.
Oh, man, Caleb, great to be on the show.
It's a little bit different for us this week. Kevin's on the road, so guess what? We're going to change things up, hit it on the Bluetooth, feed it into the mixer, and we're still going to be able to make things happen and kind of talk about a little bit of your history and, where things have been and where they're going as far as your role with race promotions and, within the sport itself. So, let's just put our scuba mask on and dive right on into it, man. So how'd you get involved in racing? I mean, with a lot of race car drivers, it's usually, they're someone in their family or brought them into the sport. But, being a promoter, it's a little different.
Yeah, so, it kind of started traditional like a lot of people. My dad, he had an interest in it, went when he was a kid. And when I was about 5 years old, he started taking me some, and we just kind of got hooked on it. And just kind of, that was kind of what kept me going when I was a younger guy. That's what kind of kept me probably on the straight and narrow and doing your chores and stuff, because the payoff was going racing on the weekends. So it was good. And we just kind of progressed through being a race fan. And Tommy Simons, he had Abilene Speedway for years. He was one of the first promoters that actually gave me some attention, I guess, when I was probably in junior high or so. He had the racetrack in San Angelo where I lived, and he let me up in the flag stand. He kind of gave me a run of the place to kind of start seeing how things worked and ask questions. And he was one of the first ones that said, here's a headset. If you got a question, ask me.
Wow.
And to this day, I still talk to him quite often and ask him about ideas or bounce stuff off of him. And because he was kind of ahead of his time back in his era. It's fun just to bounce ideas, but man, when I was probably in 5th grade, 6th grade, there was a newspaper in Texas called Tex US Racing News or so, and I remember they put a list of racetracks in it one time, so I wrote letters to all these track promoters. Richard Snyder of Boyd Raceway at the time was one of them. Mark Tuning at Super Bowl North Texas. And so I sent all these letters out. Well, they started sending me like souvenir programs back. I just asked them like, hey, if you had any cool pictures, like I live in West Texas. I don't get a chance to go very often, but I love the sport. They were sending T-shirts, free tickets. Like Mark Tuning sent me a pass that was good to Super Bowl Speedway in Greenville to like the year 2000. Like it was crazy. Like anytime you want to come, and so that was kind of fun. And so I just kind of fell in love with it. And I had a lot of good people that kind of showed me some attention. And when I say show me attention, they gave me an opportunity to ask questions and learn. And so that was a lot of fun for me. And kind of progressed on, went off to college, and didn't get to do racing quite as much because where I was going to school, there wasn't a lot of racing there. Got out of college, moved back to the Metroplex, and it was wide open again. We started racing a little bit ourselves, and I'll preference that. I am the hashtag wheelman, Caleb, but I may be one of the worst to ever put on a fire suit. So, it's just kind of one of those things. So we were a car owner that liked to make a few laps, if you will. But so we raced a little bit, and I enjoyed that. But I always enjoyed the promotion side of it. And my dad he promoted a racetrack in '97 back home, and we got to help him do that and kind of learn a little bit about how to drive a water truck, what it took to clean up after the races, and just kind of a lot of things that you didn't know, the paperwork side of the business. And I just kind of fell in love with that side of it, and always kind of knew that's where I wanted to be, but also felt it was important enough, good, bad, or indifferent on the racetrack to kind of understand what it was like prepping a car all week long and going racing and kind of seeing that side of it. So that was more kind of what we did that for, but just had a lot of fun. Had a chance to I bought the Sprint Series of Texas in 2015 from Smiley Sutton. That was kind of my first go at promoting at that, and we had a good time with that. The timing wasn't right. I wasn't really mature, ready. It's like I thought I should have been, and it is. We sold it, had a good year, and they did a lot of good stuff with it, but it's doing really well now, so I'm proud for that. But I just wasn't the right guy for that position at the time. And so when that happened, Kevin Sestairs, my partner on all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian Mines was his crew guy. Well, he unexpectedly passed away in August.
Yeah.
I guess it's into August of 2015, and we put a memorial race for him together real quick, and that kind of got us started on that. And once that race got behind us, I kind of realized like the traveling deal, the sprint car deal, like that, I wasn't ready for that. Wasn't really my thing. I was more of a fender guy. And so that's kind of how that got started. We kept doing that race for a few years, and then we had a chance to take over RPM in 2019, and that's kind of where we're at today on that side of it.
Talk about a very colorful background. I mean, you've seen it, you've done it, you've been around it, and it's really kind of shown through all the work that y'all have done up there at RPM Speedway in Crandall, Texas. And y'all had last year one of the biggest years y'all have ever had, as far as production wise goes, getting more exposure, just really getting the ball rolling, and just not just rolling it flat, but finding a hill and just taking it all the way down the hill and just picking up steam.
Yeah, it's getting good. It's like you had the rookie year, and then you kind of had the sophomore slump. COVID kind of came in and kind of shut everything down for a while, and you just had to get creative and kind of work your angles to get open and going again. And what was good for us in Dallas area is we were kind of one of the few forms of live entertainment. So we had a very diverse crowd. We had a lot of people that's never been before, and a lot of them kept coming because they were exposed to something they never seen. They enjoyed it. And so we just kind of kept doing that, try to get creative. Like Kevin's more of the, he keeps the facility tip top. He runs a race program. He does a lot of that stuff. He doesn't get really any credit because I get to do all the fun stuff like the podcast and the videos and that sort of thing. But he's kind of the backbone of that deal. But we complement each other well. He kind of handles that. And I handle a lot of the marketing side of it and dealing with the partners and kind of the beautification of the banners and signs,
right,
and kind of how we're going to do some things. So it works out really good. We balance each other. We fight like brothers about 6 days a week, but on race day we kind of make it work. So it's kind of we butt heads a lot, but it's always in a good way because I think it challenges us both to keep thinking, and trying to get us to open up a little bit to like, oh, okay, well I see maybe where he's coming from, and I think that's been kind of the key to our success. We don't always agree on everything, but we know we both want the same outcome. And so it's been kind of a challenge, but it's a lot of fun. And, we poke a lot of fun at each other. And we enjoy doing it. Like, everybody's like, why do you do it? I said, well, that's because we enjoy it. It's a lot of fun to do it. I think he's enjoying it. I think he's enjoying racing with his kids. His boys are racing. He kind of sold all his stuff. And I think he's going to fit the role of retired racer and now promoter / car owner a lot better. So he needs to. His last few years in a dirt car wasn't that impressive, so it's time to hang up the helmet.
That it's always great, when you can have that yin yang type of business relationship and partnership that you talk about, because that balance is key. I mean, you got to have the person that's willing to just like go 0 to 100 miles an hour, but then yet you got to have the other person that's going to pump the brakes. Let's slow down. Let's think about it. And, y'all had that working very smoothly, and it's going to be really fun to kind of see how things are going to build and progress for y'all this year. But, you mentioned COVID kind of putting a damper in plans last year. And, one of the things that I know that y'all are really big supporters of, and that really helped y'all out is that Speed Pass program that RaceOnTexas has, allowing people to not necessarily be at the track, but still be at the track even when they're under, quarantine limits and things like that. So, from a promoter's perspective, how's that help y'all? I mean, we talk about, as far as the promoting and trying to, I guess you could say, sell people on, changing to Speed Pass over the regular on demand. But, how does that help y'all in the long run of being able to give fans and drivers and, anyone that really wants to watch access that instantaneous to what's going on?
Well, there's a lot of layers to that that's all positive, and I'll first off say Chris and the staff at RaceOnTexas, man, they've been over backwards to work with us and as well as the other tracks, and we can't thank them enough for all the efforts they put in for it. But, the big thing for us with the Speed Pass deal, obviously there's a little financial revenue on our side, which is great. But the greater point is like my dad lives 4.5 hours away. He can log on, watch our races every Friday that we race, and he couldn't make it to the races. So there's a lot of people like that. But we see guys got it on in their haulers. They're watching the races as they're going, so they kind of see the running order. And there's just so many positives to it. The exposure you get on a regional and national level, the commercial content they build for you, the way they help promote your events. So there's no real negative drawback to what they're doing. It's been very beneficial for us, and it's been good for our branding, and it's good for our racers and our partners to get the exposure in some markets maybe they weren't being in before. So we're very thankful and grateful for all they've done for us.
That's very candid of you, and we appreciate that, because a lot of people don't really understand and see that other side of the coin, when they just kind of look at the dollar out of their pocket and not realizing that half of it is going to go to the track that they select. And it helps you all out. I mean, especially with years like last year, you kind of hinted at the revenue aspect. I mean, it's great to have it coming in, because rainouts come, and that's just money that you're missing out on when we got to cancel, or in this case with last week, we got an ice storm come in, and it really just derail everything for us.
Well, I know during COVID they were replaying some of our races, the segment, and some of our bigger events. And that was cool to see some of that, because when you're putting on races, like for me, for instance, you don't get to see all that. So I got to sit down and enjoy the races a little bit, but it was content for our fan base to see it, and it was good to kind of break up the lull of being in quarantine for some people. And so there was a lot of positives on that. They kind of kept our brand out there. They kept our drivers out there in front of the public eye. They kept our partners out there in the public eye. They kept, they did in the videos, and then they make a post like, hey, we're 3 weeks away from starting the season finally. So they were helping to sell our story, and they were telling our story very well when we couldn't. So we were very thankful for that. So, but yeah, they do a great job. And what I love about dealing with Chris and them, like you probably, if you follow any of my social media stuff, like I don't know where I come up with some of this stuff, but my mind's always thinking about just weird stuff, And what I like about Chris is I'll call him with some ideas, and he's like, hey, that's not a bad idea, but let's maybe do it this way. And so he's another sounding board for me, and they got the creative genius going that we can kind of create some of this stuff. And they've been very instrumental in helping us, with the Parker Lee Project, exposing them and helping to raise money and awareness for their organization. And those guys, and I will say this about Chris. So I called him about 2 weeks before the first Brian Mize at Grayson County Speedway, and I said, hey, man, we'd like to maybe stream this thing, because like a lot of people can't be here, and we're kind of limited on seats. We think it's going to be a good show. And that's how we started our relationship, and he hadn't missed a beat with us yet. He's covered everything we've done since that. So he never questions. Matter of fact, for several years on the Mize and the SmackDown stuff, all their revenue they were generating, they pulled their expenses out and they donated the rest of it. So like those guys have been stand up from day one, and we've been partnering with them, and we're happy and excited to be a part of their program.
That's man, I tell you what, that's a good partnership right there. You can't beat that type of support, and being able to help get the word out there. And you mentioned Parker Lee Project, and for those that don't really know a little bit, for those that don't know a lot about what the Parker Lee Project is and the story behind it, if you wouldn't mind, kind of divulge a little bit on what the project is and the foundation that they
absolutely.
I forgot the rest of my sentence. It'll happen from time to time.
That's all right. I'm with you. I usually lose thought about every third sentence, so we're doing good so far. But no, the Parker Lee Project, great organization. Philip and Megan Smith, known them for a long time. So their daughter Parker, she I'm not going to even try to attempt to use the medical terminology, because I don't know it. Miss Megan is brilliant on this, and you can go to our SmackDown page or the Parker Lee Project social media page and see some really cool videos that kind of tell their story in great detail and accurate. But I can give you the cliff notes. So basically, they had a young lady that was born. She wasn't going to make it. They were told it early on when she was born. She's got X amount of years with us probably on a good end, and this is where it's at. And So unfortunately, they lost her, and they were looking around their house, and they had all the medical supplies they needed just to keep this young precious baby alive and give them the best quality of life they possibly can. And there was insurance issues trying to get supplies. Megan tells it so much better, but she's a young mother with a terminal kid, going to have to feed it through a feeding tube. She had to learn how to do all that. Like, I can't even imagine what she went through. And so all this comes up. Well, she took all of that tragedy and all that hardship and learning, and to honor her daughter, they started the Parker Lee Project. It's a registered 501c3 in the state of Texas. Great, great deal. You can check them out at theparkerleeproject.org. But they help so many people across the world now with rehoming medical supplies. When unfortunately, so the first time I went down there a few years ago to shoot a video, you go in one door and it's people bringing in products, bedding, all the stuff that they no longer need. And then it kind of hits you. There's a sad story there. Somebody lost a child.
Right.
And it kind of,
Absolutely.
you kind of, I'm sitting there trying to shoot a video, and I told Philip, I said, you have to give me a few minutes. Like, I would like to think I'm halfway tough at this, but like, it just dawned on me what's going on here. Well, then you turn the corner and you see the shipping side of it. And that's going to help somebody take care of their kid and give them a quality of life, because insurance doesn't cover like feeding tubes and formula. And it's about $1,000 a month out of pocket to keep your child fed.
Right.
Well, through the Parker Lee Project, they can send them a month supply for about $30 in UPS fees. So we raise awareness so people know about it, so they can utilize it, and we try to raise a little money to help offset some of that for them. And a lot of people have been very instrumental in doing that. Kenny Montgomery, Shane Sprinkle, so many people have jumped on board with that, with different things they do. Megan and Philip stand up people, because I always tell people, I don't know if I had to deal with that, if I could have been strong enough to turn such a tragic event into such a positive thing. I don't know if my mindset would have been right, but those people are stand up people. They do great work, and very, very, very humbled and honored that we've had just a little bit of opportunity to work with these folks and try to make a difference in some people's lives. And it's a very good organization. And I get asked, sometimes people say, what to this point in your racing deal, what's your greatest accomplishment? And it's simple: meeting those guys and partnering with them. It's very simple. The racing takes a back seat when you start seeing how you're affecting people's lives. And what was cool was able to take something we all love and use that as an avenue to help raise awareness and a little bit of money for something that's doing such great work across the country and across the nation and across the world. So very honored to be a part of it. But I encourage you, theparkerleeproject.org. You want to check them out. If you ever want to go down to Ennis, Texas, Miss Megan will give you a tour of the warehouse. She'll give you everything you want to know about it. It's all conducted with volunteer help. Everything they do, it's an incredible organization, and I can't tell you how great it is and do it enough justice. So check them out, and by all means, even if you're not a race fan, come out to the RPM Speedway, Texas this weekend. Help support those folks, learn their story, and see some pretty good racing on the sidebar there. So.
And you hit that. I was about to segue into that. Is this weekend y'all have a very big fundraiser going on for the Parker Lee Project with the Battle Royale race. It's a vote to get in kind of deal. From what Chris told me a little bit earlier this afternoon, the wheelman is going to strap the helmet and fire suit back on and give her a go.
Yeah, this is the 5th annual, and everybody talks about my driving ability, and they can say what they want, but I'll be the only guy that'll zip that fire suit up that started all 5 of these events. So they can say what they want, but I've got perfect attendance, and I made all the shows. I mean, the RaceOnTexas folks made me a cool promo video, and I mean, I'm just telling you, you need to watch that, the old Wheelman Rides Again kind of deal, because we've kind of taken it easy the first 4 years, but, this is my 3rd year at RPM, gotten a little more, every now and then I may slip out there and make me a few practice laps. We've been tuning a little bit. We've
Absolutely.
I'm just telling you, I don't care where they start me this year. I am guaranteeing that I'll be in the Honeycutt Sand and Gravel victory lane after them 10 laps are over, because I've seen the competition that the fans voted in this year. I don't have any competition. I don't have any this year. This will be a cakewalk.
That's that home field advantage coming in. We see it in all these other sports across the world, but you're about to have home track advantage, and that's going to carry in. I mean, we'll have to calculate that into the into the prop bets on the side. I mean, I remember when I first started going to dirt track races with some friends of mine, we'd pay, hey man, $5, number 21 is going to win it. Nah, man. You start having the fun going on. Start betting in the stands. I don't condone any such activity. I'm just saying it
Well,
happens.
I'm just gonna give you a little. I'm gonna give you some insider trading information just between me and you right
Let's
now.
go. Let me write it down.
I, I will be making a return in the Ensland chassis number 16. Keith and Christy Ensland. They always entrust me to wheel their machine. We have put thousands of hours in the off season on this car. It's been in wind tunnels, on pulled out. Like we're not even joking with you this year. So if you're going to put a little side money up, you're going to want to be on that Ensland chassis number 16. Yours truly behind the wheel. Doesn't matter where we start. We're guaranteeing victory lane.
There it is. I like it. That kind of makes you wonder. If you are a promoter, you're on the track, and if you're guaranteed to be in victory lane, there may be some black flagging ahead of you. Either that or DQs in the tech pad.
Not gonna lie to you, the flagman and the tech guy will be on my payroll, and so I didn't say we was gonna get there ethically. I just said we was gonna get there. So now these guys and gals that support this deal from day one, and I'll give you a quick back history. So where this started from is I made a video making fun of Sestera because I was on the road one night traveling back from a race, and people watched it. It got 10,000 views. And I woke up the next morning, I'm like, people are laughing at this, having a good time. And I was just making, because like he's a really good racer and I'm not. But I spun it like he's not good enough to carry my helmet to the track, And,
right, yeah.
And so I called him. I said, hey, man, we're on to something here. Like rebut to me. And so he made a rebuttal video. It got a lot of views. And I called him back and I said, okay, what if we take the Battle Royal or the SmackDown themed event? What if we do like an invitational deal? Call out videos, and we kind of in about a 15-minute phone call, we kind of come up with this ideal, and we started figuring out who we need to call in season one, kind of some characters, some social media presence, the whole 9 yards. There's a lot more goes into how you get into this race on the invite than people think, because you got to look at so many different aspects, and it worked. It worked. People were at a racetrack having fun. People were enjoying. They were bannering, playing along. We get to race day, the place is sold out. The marketing side of it, like there was things happening we didn't even think would happen, didn't even consider them happening.
Right.
And just very honored that we were able to do what we did, and it just kept going. And here, year 5, we thought, well, we got 4 seasons. Let's let the fans vote their top 2 back in. We'll have a little rematch, and then I'm gonna put Philip Smith in there because I've seen him race, and quite frankly, love him to death. Great work with the Parker Lee project, but got zero respect for his driving ability. And so I thought, well, I'll put him in there. And, like I say, the fans got it right. I got it right. It's me and 9 people that'll just be in the way until we get to the front. So it ought to be a good time. But it's always fun. Great guys involved with it. That everybody really goes above and beyond to make this deal work. And couldn't be more honored to be a part of it. And very thankful Philip and Megan Smith give us the opportunity to work with them like they have.
And right there, man, you can hear it in your voice. You're smiling. You're excited about it because of what it is a fun time at a dirt track. And, I almost kind of feel, man, I'll step out on a limb on this that, over the years, that's kind of gone away. It's, not as much of a we're having fun at the dirt track other than just, so super serious. And, you got to be serious. But at the end of the day, our average Joes, we're not going to, become a millionaire racing on a dirt track. So, we got to have fun while we're out there and enjoying it.
Sure. Well, I learned real early after I raced a couple of times that I was never going to be real good. Like and so I thought, man, I'm going to take this moniker. I'm just going to have fun. Like I don't want to ever be at a racetrack and somebody have more fun than me, So we kind of played along with it and did it. And like I say, then I figured out we could take some of my inabilities behind the wheel, turn them into a little satire, have a little fun. And then all of a sudden the Parker Lee project, we were able to tie in with them, and it just kind of all worked. It's just, the timing was right. Things fell into place. I still sucked behind the wheel. I was never getting better. So, I didn't have to worry about ever winning a race and killing the magic of this deal. So, it just worked out good. And it's been fun I got to race with some guys that we invited to this race that I would never race with because they race at a high level and they're quality racers. And they're not going to run B-mains with me. So, it was fun to get to rub fenders with some of those guys. And and it's still cool how the guys support the deal, the alumni support it, and people get out behind it, and it's fun. You get to poke fun at some people and kind of keep it classy and clean, but just have a good time and just break up the monotony of the everyday life of all the social media
Absolutely.
drama and some of the negativity we live in these days. And so it's been fun for us. And I tell people anymore, if my fire suit will still zip up, it's a good night. We don't even care how the car runs. So the old quarantine 30 doesn't hit me hard. So I gotta hope we can still squeeze in it. But no, it's just a good time, man, and it's fun when you can do something that has some serious meaning and is a bigger platform and a bigger cause than just racing. But it's fun how you can tie them together and have some fun with it. So very honored and blessed to be able to do what we're doing.
Yeah, and along with this weekend, moving right along into along with the big charity race is the USMTS race. 10K to win each night. Usually always going to be a packed house kind of deal because the USMTS don't usually travel down to our neck of the woods too often, but they're making a stop up there at RPM. And what's it like from the track perspective, when you have a big, not necessarily just like a big one-day show, with like a little boosted purse for your weekly classes, but it's the USMTS. It's 10K to win each night. It's the weekend of the Parker Lee Project race. Like, what goes into this big of a weekend?
Well, that's a good question. Actually, there's a lot that goes into it, and it never ends. You're always working on stuff on the fly, even on race night, because there's always something. But there's so many moving pieces here, and with the rescheduling of the SmackDown Battle Royal King of the Ring, and just volunteers and staff and coordinating guys that are getting selected to these races, and now you add all that to the first two 10,000s of the year for the USMTS, and the new 70,000 to win Traveling Series Point Fund Champion check, and you got guys that are. I mean, I saw some of the pre-entry list names, and I'm just going to go on record and say I'm thinking we're going to be around 85, 90 modifieds this weekend. And let me tell you, folks, when you see some of the names and when you see some of the rigs pull in, you see them cars unload, you're going to be surprised at some of the names that's going to be in these pits. And hopefully over the next few days, we can start releasing a little bit of that, So, but I'm going to tell you, that's going to be some of the best modified racing I personally ever seen, not just because it's at RPM and throw the venue out the window, just the quality of drivers that are signed up for this deal. Like I'm telling you, that there's not going to be Slough B, man. I mean, we're fixing to see something we hadn't seen in Texas in a long time, and it's good paying races both days. Todd Staley and his entire crew with USMTS, USRA, man, they run a great program. They bring their big rig down. They got the merchandise. Like, what I get excited about is all that's neat, but like, I'm hoping we create like a little mini State Fair Texas atmosphere.
There you go.
I want things to look festive. I want people having a good time, drinking their soda pops or drinking their adult beverage of choice and eating them a hot dog and get them a burger and buy them a couple of shirts and just sit up there and laugh and enjoy their time with family and friends, see some great racing, get to see some of the tomfoolery that is what I'm going to be doing with the wheelman stuff, and just have a good time with it, So I'm looking forward to it. I think a lot of people are. My phone's been nonstop today answering questions, and it'll stay that way through the remainder of the week. So I'm fine with that. They're wanting to come to races, but we got folks going out of Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, Ohio, either racing or coming down to watch.
Wow.
And so it's going to be a packed house. I'm believing, and the pits are to be overflowing, and it's one of them deals. And I'm not saying it just because it's our event, but it's one of them. I wouldn't want to miss it. I wouldn't want to miss it. But
Absolutely.
If you can't be here, here's the coolest thing in the world for you. The good folks at RaceOnTexas and the official USMTS pay-per-view or live stream provider, RaceOnDirt.com. Those guys work great together, and they're going to co-stream this event, so you're not forced to switch back and forth. And I got a lot of respect for both of them for working together like they do. So if for some reason you can't be there in person, RaceOnDirt.com or RaceOnTexas.com, both of those great providers will be streaming the event for us. And like I say, that to me, that's very cool that they work together, share their content to make it the most user-friendly event for everybody across the country. So very, very excited about it.
And, we're excited about this weekend, but, racing season, it runs all the way into the fall. So, what are some of the things that you've got going on that y'all have planned up there at RPM, that may be a little of the same that y'all found success with in 2020, or, a few things that y'all may be changing up, do a little different to kind of bring a little change and kind of revamp moving into 2021?
Well, I think that's the key. Some things are tried and true and they work, but even things that work well, you always got to look to how you can tweak them and make them better and different things. But we're going to stick with our KR Cup series for our weekly racing. That seems to be working well. We'll fire that off the following Friday. I believe that's March the 5th. Will be round one of that. We'll go every other week. And we do take 2 weeks off right there in the middle after we start because Devil's Bowl Speedway, close to us, great folks to work with. They got 2 weekends back to back, 2 great sprint car shows. So we take off so people aren't having to choose whether they're going to race with us or race with them on Friday night. So it just makes good sense. And then we'll kick back up at the end of March, and then we'll go pretty much every other Friday through August. But we got our Sigmund and Mize coming up Labor Day weekend again. We got the new USRA American Racer Mod Series Tour that's being ran out of Webster City, Iowa. Bryce Hall will be the series director for that. So we've got 4 of those on our schedule. They'll be racing all over the Metroplex, and it's going to be a good series. I think those races are going to be 2,500 to win. So, you're going to have some mini USMTS type shows throughout the season. So that's going to be exciting stuff. And then we got a Cowboy Up Classic that we added in October. We'll have some details on that. Be looking for some cool trophies and some ideas on that race as well. And then we'll come back second week of November. We got the Now 600 National, kind of their season finale. Terry Maddox and his crew out of Oklahoma, they're our micro guys. They're going to come down. It's called the Road to RPM. So it's going to be a little documented video series leading up to it. Kind of their final hoorah before a month later they go into the Tulsa Shootout. And then Black Friday this year, day after Thanksgiving, we're going to have our Black Friday event. We're going to do some different stuff this year instead of big trophies. I think we're going to give away to the feature winners 55-inch flat screens TV. Kind of theme it up the whole way and do some giveaways in the stands. Just trying some different stuff, and so. Like I say, pretty excited about it. They worked on reshaping the racetrack and trying to get a little better in the off season. I think they did a fantastic job. Our play days, it looks like we got 3 distinct grooves now. You can run top, middle, and the bottom all night long, I believe, and it's going to make for exciting racing. And them USMTS cars this weekend, when they roll out on their feature, it won't take them long. The leaders are going to be on the back of the pack pretty quick. So them 40 and 50 lap shows, 30 laps, whatever Todd sends them around the bull ring down there, it's going to be elbows up for the whole time. And, it's going to be one of them deals, you're going to want to stand up and watch it because our last USMTS show was last November, and Brandon Shepard didn't make the first night of it because he's getting his $100,000 World Outlaw Late Model Champions check. But he showed up them next 2 days, and he had a good time and took a little money of the USMTS money home with him. So, but man, I tell you, there's such a great group of guys with that. There's a lot of quality racers coming to town. Our limited modifieds, our factory stocks, our tuners, our eco. Man, there's talent in all those divisions, and they're growing. And it's just going to be a great atmosphere this weekend. And like I say, can't be more excited about it. And I think people are ready to get out of the snow and the cold weather and get outside and enjoy some good racing and hang out with their friends and enjoy it. So I'm looking forward to it.
Man, you're hitting the nail right on the head time and time again, right? Those are the things that really make this sport great. It's not just necessarily, coming to watch a good race, but the environment. And wanting to be at a facility or wherever your local track may be that you go to, be at a facility that that you enjoy being at, not necessarily just to watch it, but because you have that camaraderie with the people that work there. You have the camaraderie with the other fans in the stands, and that really continues to build within the the racing community and the racing family that we always talk about, year in and year out. And if you had to kind of you've used the phrase be on the record. So if you kind of had to be on the record, would you say that what would you kind of, I guess, estimate to be the state of racing right now, and in Texas? You know, as far as, you know, are we growing? You think we're stagnant? You know, what could we do different? You know, from a promoter's perspective, like, you know, what's turning in your brain in that regard?
Well, that's kind of a tough question because I think that's the $1,000,000 question everybody's trying to figure out. But I think racing's growing, and I'll try to explain that because there's people that say it isn't. But for one, I think there's a lot of good quality promoters. There's a lot of good quality racetracks, and they're starting to kind of realize the more we can work together, the better things are. And so I think that's good. We saw that 25 years ago, it seemed like, and then it kind of disappeared, and I think it's starting to come around again. But man, just the talent level on these cars is there. You know, I think that the USRA tuners, excuse me, the sport compacts, I think that's been a great addition to the state of Texas. It gives guys an opportunity to get in these cars without, you know, bankrolling or bankrupting the budget, and it's getting guys on the racetrack and gals on the racetrack, and the big thing is getting your fan base there, and I think that goes back to your atmosphere and how you're entertaining in between races and what you're doing, and we haven't done a good enough job at that, in my opinion. As a matter of fact, I think we've been awful at it. We got a lot in the works this year to fix that because I'll tell you what, they made a mistake. They bought me a really nice wireless mic, and I can go all over the facility. So you're going to want to watch Race on Texas Indoor Racing Dirt this weekend if you can't be there, because if there's something going on, I'm going to have a hot mic, and we're going to get the fans and the drivers interacting a little bit. We're going to kind of be that pit road reporter. If something's happening in the tech shed, we're going to be talking about it. You know, we want to get the fans, kind of pull the curtain back and give everybody the whole experience. So I'm excited about some of that. But like I say, I think we're in pretty good shape. I think there's a lot of good quality folks in the business right now, and there's a lot of support, you know, from our end, from Todd Staley and Janet Staley and the entire staff of USRA. They've done a great job of doing stuff down here. And, you know, there's other sanctioning bodies and unsanctioned deals, and they're doing a great job too, you know. So it's not one or the other. I think we're all kind of starting to understand we're all playing in the same sandbox. We're trying to kind of coexist the best we can. And it's just good for the racer, and it's good for us. It's good for the fans. And so hopefully we can kind of keep that trend going. But I think the biggest thing is just stay creative, stay outside the box, and just kind of keep striving to get there. But like I say, Race on Texas has done a lot for racing down here because they're doing a lot of the cool driver interviews. They're doing the commercials for the marketing partners. They're putting our brands out in front of people that may not get exposed to them. So there's a lot of really positives right now, and I hope we can keep building on that, keep improving it for our fans, our partners, and our racers, and hopefully we can keep growing, and hopefully 2021 is going to be a year we sit back and be like, damn, boys, everybody did a good job this year. Now how can we get better going forward, you know?
Yeah.
So
and, you know, that's pretty key right there is the working together and trying to have that teamwork between different tracks and promoters, because, you know, when you're sitting there stealing cars from the track that's, you know, 45 miles away, it doesn't do anything except hurt both of you, know, and that's it's a key thing to recognize that. But moving forward and trying to help aid it, that's a completely different ball game. And, you know, hey, if you're wanting something different and you know, something a little, you know, out there as far as entertainment, you need to wire up a mic underneath the helmet during the during the race when you're on the track, because man, that'd be pretty candid right there, to say the least. I have a feeling, but
well, I will stop you right there with my lack of a cardio program. You probably just going to get a lot of heavy breathing and sound like a fat guy having a heart attack. So probably not too candid. Probably going to have EMTs on site to help me get out of the car and put a little oxygen in me. But now we're going to do stuff. I've got a deal working. We're going to have a rodeo clown character just show up every now and then, just to entertain the crowd, have a barrel guy, you know. So just doing some different things, trying to get the kids involved. You know, Kenny Montgomery donated us a school bus. We got some decals going up on it. We're gonna do some kids club activities. Let them ride through the pits pre-race. Let them help pack the track. Do some stuff like that. Just try to build a raging fan base. You know that
absolutely, because the kids, they're the future of the sport. Yeah.
That's right, and there's a lot of kids out there. I just remember how I was when I was a kid, man. Like, my dad probably got tired about 12 o'clock on Saturday. You ready to go yet? You ready to go yet? No, racing don't start till late. Well, 3 o'clock. You ready to go yet? You know, I was tugging on. So finally, we just get in. We go out there and sit 4 hours early because I want to watch the cars come in. I want to see the cars. I wanted to see all the stuff, and so, but where that kind of built for me when I was little, we did trophy dashes. You go down there. I remember I got a trophy when I was about 7 years old. A guy handed it to me at the fence. He didn't know who I was. I didn't know who he was, but guess what? I was his biggest fan for a long time. He gave me a little picture that he signed, and so, and I still got all that stuff. And so it kind of helped solidify that this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be. And I tell people all the time, like, racing's been good for me because, like, if my dad's a good quality human being, and for 20 years of my early childhood life and even young adult life, I was with him every Friday and Saturday at the racetrack. And if your dad's not real conducive to being a hell raiser, you're probably not going to get a whole lot of trouble when you're a 15, 16-year-old kid because you're with him all the time.
That's right.
And so I'm forever grateful that he took me and that he stayed the course and allowed that to do it. But I'm forever thankful for all the great memories I got with him. And I enjoy when he gets to slip up and go racing with us even now. But there's a good lot. I guess that's the only frustration I got with racing. So many times we want to talk about the negative stuff, but I can tell you, for every negative experience I've ever had racing or want to talk about on social media, I could share 50 positives. And I wish we would get more into the positive emphasis on it. And that's where I think like RaceOnTexas and stuff are doing a great job, because they are kind of going behind the curtains a little bit and going to people's shops and doing some cool stuff. And I think that's important. Behind the scenes is an important aspect of it, because a lot of people don't realize what it takes to put on a race, but a lot of people don't realize what it takes to race and prepare all week. And then there's some people, you don't realize what it's like to be a mom and dad and have 4 kids and work all week and go to soccer and t-ball and basketball and then try to get to the race. Everybody's sacrificing for the common goal of putting on a quality show on Friday nights or Saturday nights or whatever night your track runs. So when you put all that in perspective, from the time people get there that they're working for you, they just left their real jobs, they're out here. We can't ever pay those guys and gals near what they're worth anyway. So when you start looking at all of it, it's pretty cool how we all can pull together to make this work. And it takes a lot of moving pieces to make it work. And if you pull out one slice of the pie, the whole thing doesn't work.
Absolutely.
So that's what's cool about it. You got to keep that pecan pie intact, or it doesn't work. So, and that's just my opinion, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just my opinion. But I think to answer your original question, I think racing's pretty good. I think, can it be better? Absolutely. Are we our own worst enemy sometimes? Absolutely. But as long as we're learning from our mistakes and learning from what we're doing wrong, or the calls we make, or the social media posts we do, or whatever, and we're growing and developing, I really think we got a bright future ahead of us. And it's good to see the karting business picking back up. I know down south there's a lot of good kart racing. I watch it on Speed Pass, and it's kind of fun. I was talking to Jeff Allgaier a few days ago, and his boy Jude's been running the karts down there, and he's got a little restrictor micro they're putting together. Man, it's fun to watch these young guys and gals start climbing the ranks. Like, I get excited when I see these young men and women getting behind these go-karts and getting into tuners. And because I know in 10 years I'm going to be up there as a fan in the stand watching them race for Todd Staley and winning a USMTS show. And that's what's exciting about the sport to me. I do see some young growth back in the sport that I do think we had a lull in activity for a few years. It's coming back around. And so to answer your question, that's probably the most exciting thing for me right now, is watching these young guns get out there and get after it.
Excuse me. And that's something that that I can 120% recognize and agree with is, when I started announcing over in Golden Triangle Raceway Park in Beaumont, we had a little junior mini stock class, and a lot of those kids that were running that, several of them are now running 305 sprint cars. One of them is running all across the state of Texas in a late model, and another one, she's running factory stocks and limiteds. And so it's cool to get to see all that hard work and all the seat time come to fruition as they move up, just like you said. And I don't think a lot of people actually realize the levity of that situation and how that is going to impact the sport in the long run. And, I've had the pleasure of announcing several races down at Gulf Coast Speedway in Alvin, Texas, and, watching the kids out there in the mini and the mighty carts and then the junior sprints, having, the bird's eye view, anyone that's ever got to see from a press box perspective at a racing facility, you can see just about everywhere that you want to see. And, when you're looking down in the stands and you can hear the parents sitting there hollering and cheering for their kids, and the other kids are all supporting each other because, like you said earlier, you know, you have that common goal. You have that one desire to keep things going, and it's almost kind of surreal in a way to kind of watch it all just, you know, come together. And speaking of coming together, I do appreciate you taking your time, turning the music off in the car on your road trip to join us for episode 8 of Shop Talk. And it's been really great getting to chat with you and get to know you a little bit more, and you know, that background information from a promoter's perspective that, you know, people don't really get a chance to see.
Sure. Yeah, no, we enjoy it. We appreciate the invite. Now, I'm glad you broke up the monotony of the road trip music. I'm in here by myself, and me and George Strait put on quite an epic concert going down the road. And so I'm glad you broke up the monotony of that, because I think I'm a better race car driver than I am a singer, if that tells you how bad that singing might be. So, but our racing's going to be good this weekend. I tell you,
that's right, because it's going to be in victory lane.
That's right. I walked up almost 2 flights of stairs last week, so I'm feeling 20 again, and I heard it'll be good to go. So, but no, we appreciate everything you guys are doing for the sport. We enjoy listening to the podcast, and again, it's been an honor to be on the show tonight, and we appreciate that.
And folks, that right there, it's going to do it for us here on this week's episode of Shop Talk. Thank you all for joining in and tuning in with us. Get a little tongue tie there. You know, we hope to see you back on for episode 9, and be sure to tune in with everything going on at RPM Speedway this weekend. It's going to be a great deal. Look up the Parker Lee Project on their social media pages and their websites. And in the meantime, if you got any questions, comments, concerns, be free to email us or message us on RaceOnTexas or at Shop Talk on Facebook, and we'll do our best to get back with you and try to find out a little bit more about who you want to hear from. And I'm Caleb McFarland. Thank you, and good night.